in a company that's growing this fast, people have to care about what they do. We all have to be pushing the envelope in basically every direction. And I have a belief that anybody can do anything. People are pretty amazing, capable creatures, but people can only be great at doing something when they enjoy it. And I think that that enjoyment is sort of another form of passion. But that's what it takes for somebody to know what good is and to care about delivering work that is good. And I think it also ties back to the need to help other people. And that's what we try to align on our team, is thinking about always leading with empathy of what are we doing to help the customer, to help each other, to help our partners, and how can then I do my best work to deliver that mission.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today we look at passionate people. What does it take to hire them? What does it take to lead passionate people? Well, our special guest today is Shawn Lankton. He's the CEO of CoreView. CoreView is a very interesting company. They work in the world of Microsoft, but they actually create a management layer that makes 365 much more valuable and useful and easier to administer. I'm certainly not an expert here, but Shawn and I talk about passionate people and why that's been such a critical factor in the growth of the company. They hire these people. He shares a specific question that he loves to use to figure out where someone's passion lies and kind of dig into the depths of that. You have to stay into the entire end of the podcast to get that question. But we also unpacked what it looks like to create passion as a leadership and what that really means and how he stays connected to passion inside the business as well. So all that is unpacked in today's episode. If you have any questions about how do you take your leadership to the next level or the leadership of the people on your team, then we've got a solution for you. Our company has been based on executive coaching for more than a decade. In the last 3 years, we've added leadership development. Now, I say this specifically because if you have a need to learn leadership skills as a frontline manager, or you want to do that for your team, then we can actually help you do that. We also help executives understand how to lead more powerfully, be more explicit with their communication, and have more confidence, hold people accountable, empower people more. And I could go on and on and on. The things that we do best is help companies grow. We just happen to do that through leadership development and leadership coaching. If you're curious about that, make sure you go to genehammett.com, schedule a call with me. We'll walk you through the performance leadership audit. There are 6 dials that you've got to be aware of. And if you want to be a part of that performance leadership audit, just schedule a call with me. I'd love to guide you through that. And all you have to do is sign up on my website, genehammett.com, and schedule a call right now. Now, here's the interview with Shawn. Shawn, how are you?
Doing very well, Gene.
I'm excited to have you on the podcast.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
We're going to talk about passionate people, what that really has to do with running a company that's growing fast and even to the bottom line. But Shawn, before we get there, tell us about CoreView.
Yeah, so excited to introduce this to the Growth Think Tank audience. CoreView is a company that helps IT teams across the world manage their most complex IT infrastructure more effectively, and that's Microsoft. So we're a Microsoft control layer that helps IT teams work more efficiently and increase security across their enterprise.
Well, Microsoft is a powerful force inside of all of technology still, no matter what's going on here. I'm kind of curious, what is your view of the next 2 or 3 years in your space? Do you see it shifting drastically or just more of the same?
There's a shift to cloud, which has been headline news for the last decade. But if you look inside of how that's actually playing out inside of mid to large enterprises that we serve, we're still in the early innings. There's a lot of work left to do to fully migrate into some of these cloud services, fully adopt them, secure them, and then move all of the IT work that had been done on some of the on-premise technologies into the cloud technologies, particularly with the new world reality of hybrid work and remote work and use of apps like Teams and file sharing in new ways across different endpoints. there's a lot of work left to be done. And Microsoft is running really fast as a company, which means that all of the businesses in the world that depend on Microsoft are struggling to keep up with that, with all of the changes that are happening. And having a partner like CoreView allows them to kind of create a layer of separation where their world is simpler and allows it to move faster while we're dealing with some of that complexity happening on the back end.
Well, that means your people have to be able to run fast and adapt. Is that a challenge for you as a leader?
It's something that I find really exciting is that we are finding the people who are excited about this space. And I think that there's always, it's easy to find excitement in something that's novel. Blockchains and AI, those are all exciting to me. I'm an engineer by training, so I get geeked out about that as well. But the folks that are really passionate about the nuance and the intricacies of Microsoft are the kind of people that find their way onto the team at CoreView.
I'm curious, and the short answer here, what kind of engineer are you?
I studied electrical engineering, and then I got a PhD in computer engineering.
You're one of the smart ones in the engineering world.
I spent a lot of time doing mathematics and computer vision and studied all the different algorithms and worked with medical imaging and robotic tracking. So all through it.
I was industrial engineering. I chose the easiest for me of the engineering disciplines. And I really enjoyed, though, the electrical pieces and all the computer stuff we did. I did a lot of human factors in college. Of course, that was 30 plus years ago, but I just was curious what type of engineer you brought to this thinking, which really is a good kind of dovetail into this. Because being an engineer, you're not thought of as a people person, but you, in our research of how your company has grown to be the pace that it is right now, making the Inc. list, was it 3 years running? You talked about passionate people as such an important piece of your success. Why is that so important?
First of all, in a company that's growing this fast, people have to care about what they do. We all have to be pushing the envelope in basically every direction. And I have a belief that anybody can do anything. People are pretty amazing, capable creatures, but people can only be great at doing something when they enjoy it. And I think that that enjoyment is sort of another form of passion, but that's what it takes for somebody to know what good is and to care about delivering work that is good. And I think it also ties back to the need to help other people, and that's what we try to align on. And on our team is thinking about always leading with empathy of what are we doing to help the customer, to help each other, to help our partners. And how can then I do my best work to deliver that mission?
You talked about doing the best work, and I've talked about this many times in my executive coaching. Is your job is not just to get the job done, but it's to help people connect to the mission and to the work and see how their skills are growing. Do you subscribe to the same kind of leadership?
Certainly, you have to have that commitment of you have to want to do the work that you're doing, especially in a fast growth company where the rules are changing, the infrastructure is not built, all of the patterns are new. You have to want to have something, you have to want to do it for some reason. And I think that the main reasons to want to do things are because you can see the gap between what should be and what it is. And closing that gap is going to help you learn something. It's going to satisfy your curiosity or your need to kind of put things in order, or it's going to help other people along the way. And when all three of those things are true at once, that's when things really start to hit.
Now, hold on for a second. Shawn just said you have to want to do the work. Well, one way leaders can help people do the work and really put their heart and soul into it is what I call shared goals. Here's the process. You want to make sure that you're tuning in to what the person wants to do from a skill set level. This is where it works really well. If they want to learn to write better, then you can actually give them some projects and assignments, or you can find a connection between what they're doing and how they're writing. Now, it could be data, it could be sales, it could be marketing. You can actually find projects that help people improve the skills that they want to do. The shared goal part is there's an alignment between what they personally want, what the team needs, and what the company needs in order to be successful. Your job as a leader is to find it. Back to Shawn. What would we see across your organization that we might not see other places? Something that you guys have adopted? Is it ways of alignment or adaptation? Is there anything that comes to mind?
One decision that we've made that's not totally unique, but is I joined this organization in the middle of kind of what I call peak pandemic when everyone was still inside.
Yep.
At that point, we were doubling the team size and really creating a lot of new processes. So we went for the all remote option. And that's been something that is, now especially is an easy decision to make in 2021. Now that we are entering into a world where people are coming back to offices and trying to figure out how that works, we're starting to see where that creates challenges that don't exist in an in-person office and really wading through that. But I think that some of the things that we've done to adapt there are creating this outputs, not inputs type of focus and really driving into metrics and accountability so that we're all looking at the same numbers. Everybody knows what those numbers are. We're counting on each other to deliver those, which means that we have a huge amount of flexibility in where we work, when we work, how we work. So I think that's something that is started out as a necessity, but as a best practice, regardless of your physical location.
I want to make sure I understand this in the audience too. Metrics are something I love. Maybe it's the engineering me and the process, logics centered. How deep do you guys take this form of metrics? I have some clients that go in a light version of this. Some people go really to the edge of we track everything. We have metrics for all parts of the business and every team and every person. Where would you define your metrics?
I would say we are tracking a lot, but not nearly enough. And I think that, as you said, as an engineer, it's fun to overdo it. The reality is in a business, and this is not like there are a lot of businesses that sell, widgets of a certain size, and they're just trying to sell as many as possible. And in that type of business, the metrics can be very clean. What we're talking about here is selling a solution-oriented product to businesses of many sizes in many countries in many sectors, from government and public sector to education to commercial to healthcare, deals ranging from thousands of dollars to millions of dollars. And in that situation, some of the metrics don't always align well. And so I think that's a continuous struggle in businesses that cover such a large range of customers and opportunities and missions. And so that's something where we look to assign metrics wherever we can. And it's really as a way to organize the team against progress. And then what the real challenge is bringing the human side of that to say, okay, here's what we agreed on as the metric. Here's what we're seeing as reality. Is that because we were wrong about the goal? Because we were wrong about how it's executing? Is this a good news story or a bad news story? And how are we going to update our process to change it? And that constant process of reevaluation is the accountability part of metrics and accountability.
Accountability is a place that a lot of people get hung up on. And I think scorecards and metrics are a good way to not get hung up on it. But have you guys learned how to do accountability in a way that works for your organization?
Again, I'd say that we've made a lot of progress and we've got a lot of ways to go. Accountability to me is, if you've got a target or a number, that's a piece of the puzzle, and we're all playing positions on the field or whatever analogy you'd like to use. Your teammates are counting on you to do your part. And so you either need to do your part or tell everybody that you're not going to do it in the way that was expected or at the level, or you're getting done much sooner, whatever it happens to be, so that the rest of the team can adapt. And we're kind of coming back to this engineering discussion, and it's always been fascinating to me as an engineer of building systems with people, because machines typically do what they're supposed to do, and people are amazing at figuring out new ways to do things and surprising you, and at the same time having needs and emotions and emergencies with their families. And I think it's a much more interesting problem to solve of how do we make sure that we are addressing the needs of the business, the needs of the customer, and the needs of the team with all of these humans in the mix. It's just it's such a fascinating challenge.
Now, Shawn's been talking about accountability. Now, one of the things that we do is help people see that there's different ways to hold people accountable. Most people believe that it's all done through the conversation, the one-on-one coaching or meeting that you have with your employees. And that is part of it, because when you have those done really well, there's no gap between what they said they were going to do and what they actually did. And if there is a gap, then you can actually put a spotlight on it and actually move them forward because of the one-on-one nature of that conversation. Another form of accountability is team accountability, having people getting together in huddles, whether this be weekly huddles or daily huddles. I find that really works well with teams, even though they resist having more meetings. These are short meetings. They could be 7 minutes. And if you can create impact in 7 minutes, you will find a higher level of alignment and accountability across your team. And then finally, there's the whole scorecard or metrics level of accountability where people are actually putting in numbers as their output. And that allows us to see where they are. And they have to put these numbers in on a regular basis, whether it be daily or weekly. And they put them in as a form of accountability. When you see the number that's in the right range, or it's above some target, or it's below some target, you understand where they are and you can hold them accountable through the metrics. Now, are there other ways to hold people accountable? Absolutely. But I just want to highlight 3 for you as you listen to this content with Shawn. Now, back to the interview. I appreciate you talking about the details of this. And it makes me wonder, where have you evolved as a leader, Shawn? So, you've had a lot of difficulties you probably overcome and things that you've worked, but is there a specific point that you could share with us that you've evolved or learned from today?
Gosh, thousands. I learn a lot from my team, my executive team, and the folks that are, in every part of the organization. But I really am constantly trying to study the leadership style of other people that I respect. And there's a lot that has, I'm constantly sort of iterating on my own style as a result. So I think that there's, one of the big challenges that I've had and that I'm working to overcome is making sure that we're really clear on expectations. And that gets back to the outputs versus inputs. And being able to clearly state an expectation to someone allows them to meet that expectation in the way that works best for them. And that's something that's actually really hard to do as a business is changing and growing, potentially pivoting, market forces changing underneath us, and then working with customers who all are subject to the same types of issues. So that's a constant process of how do you do that with enough specificity that it's enabling and not light enough on specificity so that it's empowering.
We've been talking about passionate people and all the details underneath that, Shawn. I'm curious, what are you passionate about as it relates to the business?
Great question. One of the things that I love to do whenever I'm feeling lost in the business is start calling customers, because that's really what a business is about. It's creating value for your customers. And when I hear them talk about the way that we're solving problems and what they're able to do with our technology that they're not able to do without our technology, and how it's enabled them to really deliver on the rest of their business's goals, that gets me really excited. It gets me excited. Been talking about for a while now how IT individuals kind of saved the world during the pandemic. And I think about this a lot. If everybody had to go inside for 2 years and we were all using dial-up modems, what would have happened? It would have been absolute chaos. And so the fact that IT teams across the world came together to keep us relatively productive and secure, and then open up this whole new paradigm of working, really blows my mind. And I think that they don't get enough credit or support for all the challenge that they face throughout their daily life. So that's something that gets me kind of fired up.
Now, Shawn just mentioned about calling customers as a way to connect to his passion of serving them. Now, one of the things I think CEOs could do a much better job with is this. When you're actually getting these stories from customers about the impact and the value that your software or your services make with that customer, you could probably do a better job of sharing those with your team members, whether this be in executive team meetings or whether this be in other team formats or through social media, but collecting the stories and using them. I call them micro stories. They may be 3 or 4 sentences that someone can share with this. You can, if you're the one collecting the stories, then you want to share, hey, I just talked to a client the other day and they said that they're using our software this way, or they're using our service this way. And it was something that they, weren't able to do on their own. And we're making a big impact. Be specific, be short, and do a lot of these, because the better you are at telling stories about customer success, the more aligned people will be to what you're doing and creating. And they will want to be a part of those stories, because if they actually are a part of the stories, they demonstrate some specific value, then they feel a sense of ownership of those inside those stories. Back to Shawn. I can see it on your face there, and I really appreciate you sharing with us. What is your way of hiring passionate people, right? it's hard to turn someone into a passionate person, but do you have a specific technique or strategies or process flow or even questions in the hiring process that allow us to determine the passion of this person? And does it align with what you're doing at CoreView?
Yeah, it's important, as I said, to find people who know what good looks like and kind of can't stand the gap between good and where we are now. And the questions that I like to ask on this front, I'm giving away all my secrets here. So if people are listening to this, they'll be more prepared for my tricks. But I like to ask people something that they've learned recently. And really, it can be about anything. But I want to understand their process for learning and why they chose to learn that, how they learned it, dig into some of the details. And then I'll usually turn it around and ask them to teach me about the thing that they learned. And you can often find if a person is just sort of interested in things, they've decided to study it just because their curiosity took them there or because it was part of a different, broader goal that they had. And then if someone can teach, then they're going to be, you can read the passion in someone's expertise as they're trying to teach it to you. But that's one that always I find quite illuminating. And I also learn really interesting things in interviews. You learn about someone's hobbies as well as just fascinating topics across the spectrum of human knowledge.
I like that question. I know you had some hesitation on sharing it, but look at it this way. Those people that are passionate enough about your company to find this interview and listen to you, probably a pretty good indicator that they might be a good fit.
Absolutely.
Well, Shawn, I really appreciate you being here, talking to us about passionate people, what that does to all of this. I'm going to give you one last question. Why does passionate people impact the bottom line?
Another one of our kind of catchphrases around CoreView is participation and action. And I think that's why it takes passion to do something. And without doing something, nothing ever happens. So if you can find people who are passionate enough to take one step, and that one step is going to lead to another step, is going to lead to 10 more, is going to actually get you somewhere. I think that passion to just try, you're passionate enough to give it a shot, to try an experiment, to not be satisfied with the status quo. That's what leads someone to jump in, to raise their hand, to be a leader, to help a customer, to build a new system, to invent something new. And I think that's what drives growth stage companies.
Great place to end. Shawn, thanks for being here.
Absolutely, Gene. Thank you for the time.
Wow, what a great interview. I love the detail that he gave in the question about hiring. Hopefully you took some notes on that. I actually added that to my list of questions and the library of questions I use when we're hiring people for our team. We're up to about 7 people right now. We're currently hiring 2 people for our sales team. And if you are interested in joining a team, being on, doing something inside of leadership development, let me know. We have some opportunities that are coming up. We have contract positions as leadership coaches. We have sales team members. We even have marketing positions that will be open here soon. So if you're interested in joining our team, make sure you reach out. Just go to genehammett.com to find everything you need there. When you think of leadership and you think of growth think Think Tank. As always, think of courage. We'll see you next time.